All right. In theory, we're live. But I kind of can't check because YouTube hates me, I guess. I have a feeling that my voice and my actual person are going to be out of sync. And honestly, at this point, we're lucky to be here at all. Kathy is right. For some reason, I'm getting a 400 error, which I've never had happen before on YouTube, which means that any link, in fact, it started, Kathy, with a link from you, I think. No, it wasn't. Never mind. It was Joy. I'll just blame somebody randomly. Oh, good. Okay, it's not too bad. I opened a link that was in the CraftLit group or the Craft Literati group, and it was a YouTube link. It's not a big deal. All of a sudden, I was getting this 400 error. In fact, I wonder if I can show you what it looked like. Let's see. Because right now what I'm doing is I'm running the live stream off of my laptop, but I'm using the microphone and the camera from my desktop because that's the only way that I can share all the screens that I had opened with you. Because if I try and open them on the laptop, it'll suck out too much power. Blah, blah, blah. Hey, Crookedness is here. Yay. Okay, so I was going to try and share with you. Looks like, because I can. All right, so this is what the actual nasty buggy looks like. Your client has issued a malformed or illegal request. What does this even mean? I have never seen this before. You can even see that this is me trying to open it as though I were in the UK with a VPN. If you don't know what a VPN is, it can be quite useful. It helps a little bit with internet security because nobody knows where you're from. But it also helps with things like watching things on the BBC that we can't get in the United States. So yeah, I suppose that's cheating, but it also really helps in situations like this where my first thought was, oh, this must be, I did something to my settings and the HTTPS page wasn't happy. And because of that, if I could get in as not an American HTTPS page, maybe that would work better. And sometimes that actually does happen and work out that way, and then not this time. So wah wah for me. Yeah, AT, I know. I've never seen anything do this before. I've never seen a 400 error that I could think of. So now let's see if I can stop with the screen share. Or not. That would be bad if I can't. Oh, okay. The controls are different because my camera and microphone that I'm using, I'm technically a participant. So what I'm able to do is weird. It's just weird. Let's just deal with that. And now a seltzer break. And it's the generic giant version. So for product placement, it's not much of a product placement. Oh my God. I get so tired of just water. I like water. I love our water here. It's well water. It's really cold and clean and tastes the way God intended water to taste. But after a while, I mean, even if you put lemon juice in it and stuff, lingonberry juice is what would taste really good. That was the power cord falling and hitting the ground. So one of the things that I have been playing with over the last week is letter folding. And I have it down here. In my bullet journal. You may recall years ago that I'd stumbled on a page called Letterfoo, which Letterfu, like kung fu, but letterfu. And letterfu is a way to fold just a regular sheet of paper in a way that it seals itself, because there's a little flappy, and little flappy goes in little flappy space. And I just snagged it so because I'm not looking. And then once you've got little flappy in little flappy space, it didn't cause this much trouble before. You got space here where you put your stamp, and that locks everything together, and then you have a letter, and it's roughly like small letter sized. How I'm doing the live stream. It is 5.5 by almost 4 inches. The 16-year-old just woke up. Yes, it's 1:46 p.m. It is summer. So that's the letterfu one, and you can tell by this part that this thing is all, fold slot A, insert into slot, or tab A into slot B kind of thing. These are printoutable from the letterfu site. It is fun. But the letterfu site has links on it that don't work anymore. I think they built the site in like 2006, so it's been around a while. However, one night I was bored and decided to use the Wayback Machine, the web archive, and I love that they call that the Wayback Machine. Makes my old-fashioned heart happy. And I found on it a mention of a Florentine letterfold. This is, using the Wayback Machine, what I was able to link to. It's a single-page PDF. It is small, and if you try and blow it up any bigger than this, and it's not very big, if you try and blow it up any better than that, it gets really blurry and you can't tell. It is not the easiest set of instructions, and I wound up fiddling around and then color coding stuff so that I could tell, like, there's the flap that you're going to fold down. I needed to identify where that flap showed up in all of the opening instructions. And I also had to deal with the fact that it is an asymmetrical fold like the last one, meaning that the last fold, when you fold this up and then you've got one last flap to tuck in, it's going to be asymmetrical. It is not going to look like a regular envelope. As long as you're okay with that, you still get the space for your stamp where it locks the whole thing together, and you've got your letter, and it's nice on that side, which means you can do things like collage and draw and mixed media and art up the thing, which is what I'm planning to do with thing one, because he's going to a pre-college art program at University of the Arts in Philadelphia this summer. I'm a little traumatized by that. Children grow up. I know. I get that. Not mine. So there will be more of these, and I will be sharing them with you as I go. But then what I realized was this green piece of paper is actually A4 paper. This is paper from the UK, which I ordered off of Amazon. It was really inexpensive, and it was, I don't know, $5 for a not really a ream, but lots of pretty colors of A4 paper, which is longer and quite a bit longer and a little bit wider, I think, than United States 8.5 by 11. I think, what was it, 217 millimeters by 290 millimeters? Does that sound right? Anyway, I looked it up. I made myself a fake piece of paper, and that was how I figured out that the Florentine fold that I did on regular US letter paper had come out wonky because I kept trying to do the fold and it kept coming in weird. And I'll show you. So here's much smaller. This one is A4 US letter. Way more smaller. But this one I've forced into being more symmetrical. And what it did is it meant on an interior fold, this thing, instead of being flat and, you know, an edge or a corner that you meet when you fold in, it got folded over, and that was the only way to make it work. So all of the envelopes that I found on the Wayback Machine, the original letter folds that were created by the people who made Letterfoo, eventually made Letterfoo, all of them are designed for A4 paper. So it means that for us, either you have to ratio your regular paper down if you're in the States, or you have to just fake it like I did, which is just fine. And yes, I was thinking great for camp crafts because the art of letter writing is, as we all know, going bye-bye. And I thought, even if people don't have a whole, yay, Kathy has A4 paper, share with everyone. Oh yes, you could also seal the food letter with, I like that, FU-ED letter with a wax seal and put it in a regular envelope. You could, however, in the interest of saving paper, you know, save a rubber tree plant, save a tree, this was one of those things that was being promoted that way back in the day. But the other thing is, this is a lot closer to what people used to do when you didn't buy envelopes. Now, there are all sorts of things on YouTube, provided you can get to a YouTube page. There are all sorts of things on YouTube about getting out these big, like Sizzix paper cutters and creating envelopes that have nicely folded edges and rounded corners, and you have to put glue in just the right place. And I thought, I'd rather have a beer and fold something because it's more fun. But it's easy, and you don't have to have anything on hand except maybe a stamp. And even though I don't write a lot of letters, I always have stamps in my purse. I almost always have paper, and you can use even garbagey paper because you can put gesso all over recycled paper and draw something or paint something or collage something and throw it in the mail, because you know how cool it is to get a piece of mail that's not a bill. So that was one of the things. I'm going to, I can't give you the links here. They're not on that computer. But I will put the links up on the CraftLit show notes this week. But the one I wanted to show you, I just sent. So I don't have an example. And if the computer had been participating properly, I would have been able to fold a new example for you, but I didn't get a chance. It is a bamboo fold. And that's what it winds up looking like. And I'll be darned if the thing doesn't actually look like the way bamboo bark layers itself. It's really, really cool. And I stopped when it looked like that. I did not keep folding until it was pointy because I wanted mine to go through the mail. As far as mail goes, most of these letter folds require 0 extra postage. The best folding instructions that I found would tell you if and when they were going to ask you more money. But it wasn't too bad, most of them. Anyway. Oh, I'll be darned. Now I'm in darkness again. And yes, Crooked Knits, wax seals don't pass through USPS machines very well anymore. If you go and get them hand stamped at your local, you can avoid some of the drama. And any post office should hand stamp. It's hand. What do they call it? It's not registered. It's instead of getting the machine stamp on it. Not stamp, the machine. See, I'm just pathetic today. Postmark. AT asks, am I using printer weight paper or heavier paper? All of these, the original letter foo and the fake Florentine and an even smaller fake Florentine, all of these are regular printer paper. The A4 weight it's the same. The difference is the letter foo and the A4 Florentine, the one that was, yes, postmarked. Thank you, AT. The A4 and the one that was supposed to be the letter foo and the A4 folded the way the original instructions went. They are coming out absolutely thin as you can get. They're thin, they are flat, and I didn't have to like dig in with my fingernail or anything to really flatten it. The two US letter size that were the fake Florentine fold that wasn't working out properly, look at how much fatter they are. And these I did use my thumbnail and kind of scraped along and tried to flatten them as much as I could. So if everything goes right, small, lightweight, cheap to send. Oh, Crooked Knits, I understand what you're saying. She says hand stamping doesn't stop it from going through sorting machines. It's not the machine that gets the postmark put on it. It's the sorting machines. And yes, that's true. And she hashtagged it, things I learned as a bride. Did you send out all your invitations with wax seals on them and then get hate mail from the post office? That would be very scary. You guys shared a bunch of stuff over the last couple of weeks, and I said I was going to share what you shared. I said I was going to do it last week. So let's see if I can accomplish this without fritzing the machine. All right. We have, first off, one thing while I'm pulling the pages up. Let me know if you go to craftlit.com. Let me know if the page is loading any faster. I've been doing some extra tune-ups and things like that. Crookenet said, said, no, I didn't do anything that was going to cost her extra money. Smart girl. That's what we like. Oh no. Now I'm getting proxy server problems. I wonder if everything is going to go on. Okay, well, in that case, I'm going to go to the one that I can. That was a phone call coming in. Why am I hearing that? I shouldn't be hearing it at all. So one of the things that Cindy Moss shared with all of us was there's too many things happening all at once. Was on Facebook, the Lizzie Bennet Diaries are back again. I am not entirely sure if this is a reboot, but we're up to episode 8, and I know everybody really enjoyed the Lizzie Bennet Diaries first time around, which was a long time ago. It was a really long time ago. Huh. It was a really, really long time ago. So that's one of the things that we had shared with us. The other is, oh good, here we go. LeVar Burton. LeVar Burton, who I love. He's come out with not more Reading Rainbow, but he's come out with reading books for adults. Because if there weren't enough books that were already recorded for us, we now can have Mr. Reading Rainbow himself read for us. I love that. I've become a god because I read a book. Yes, sir. Sing it. So LeVar Burton, these are all links that are on the CraftLit Facebook group. And I can put them in the under the video notes. Now, oh, it's a Flash player thing. The Great Gatsby for Nintendo. There's a link out to it. It is not going to show on my screen. Something really is wrong. But there's a Great Gatsby game online. Ooh. Michelle said it was A4 paper. She got a bill from India and it was a weird size paper. Now realizes it was A4 size. It never fit into my filed folders and I used to cut it to make it fit. And Michelle, that is how those mathematicians, when they were in 7th grade, Feynman being one of them, discovered the hexaflexagons. Do you guys know? You've all been around long enough to hear me talk about the hexaflexagons. If not, search for Vihart, Vihart, all one word. It's her YouTube channel. Look up Vihart plus hexaflexagon, all one word. And you'll see what these kids did with those strips that you cut off of your A4 paper to get it to fit into your file folders. Because some people invent math when they do that. Me, I invent garbage, trash, shreds. That's just me. We also got, let's see, Trisha's the one who shared the LeVar Burton. Robin, who we sometimes have here. Ooh, LeVar said, Kathy says to us, LeVar said that the podcast was a response to people constantly asking him for a Reading Rainbow for adults. I love him. Oh, good man, LeVar. Robin shared, this is going to blow your mind if you did not see this. These are photographs from 100 years ago that are color. These aren't tinted. These are color photographs. So people 100 years ago, strangely enough, looked just like people today. So there's one from 1913, mind-boggling. Paris in 1914. Look at the, I mean, just the colors on her dress. Can you see? Maybe I can make it bigger. That is just amazing. The shawl around her neck and the color of the flowers. That is so beautiful. Let's see if we can get one more. 1911. It is shocking to me how differently time is perceived when it's done in color and photography. And isn't that, I mean, the photograph itself is beautiful. If you look at the way the focus, the depth of field focusing is done on this old camera. Really, really, really cool. And Michelle said she used to fold the strips together to make paper accordions. That is probably what I would have done, actually. And then somebody would have come along and said, what is this, garbage? And then they would have thrown it out for me because that's the way things happen. So this page is well worth taking a look at. It's Bored Panda, BOREDPANDA.com. First color photos, vintage old autochrome Lumiere Auguste Louis, nice French photographer. So that came in from Robin, which is just awesome. I love that. And then nothing else opened. Rita's the one who sent in the Gatsby Nintendo. Toshi sent in, she was asking about which reading of The Handmaid's Tale was better. There are two. If you have listened to The Handmaid's Tale as an Audible book, go give her a heads up and let her know what you thought of the reader. This is again on the CraftLit Annotated Audiobooks Facebook group, the one that you have to ask to get into because Facebook. And Kathy shared. Ooh, and for some reason it didn't open either. That's creepy. BJ Harrison over on Classic Tales podcast is doing Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie, a Scottish writer. More on that Friday, I think. Oh, and then Tara sent a bunny thing, and let's see if I can do this without the sound blasting out everybody's ears. The bunny thing she said kind of freaked her out because it seemed like Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors, which I get. All right, let's see what happens if we do this. Will it work? Hey, it worked. So this is 5-minute crafts. She goes through all sorts of stuff. Oh, and Kathy is here to explain while we watch this speed video. Kathy is here to explain that A series size paper, the A4 paper, makes more logical sense, well, metrics, because each size is twice or half the next size. The proportions stay the same so that you can resize your content more easily. Oh, well, that makes all of that make a lot more sense. Thank you. And AT said that BJ is doing a good job on Peter Pan. And as she says, yeah, that's not a huge surprise because it's BJ and he's awesome. So now you can start to see why why Tara said that this reminded her just a little too much of Audrey 2. Because the teeth, the teeth of the, wow, the teeth of the zipper. You got to admit, it's really adorable though. It's just the teeth. So there was music in the background to that one, but not for us because I wasn't going to play it. And that's it. I don't have anything else to share. Oh, that's not true. AT, last week you told me about a lettering book. Is that it? While I wait for her to respond. Whether this was AT's intended book or not, this is a really, really interesting one because I'm going to find a page to show you. These are 2 pages in quick succession. So this first one is Garamond, which is a font that you see on your computer all the time. AT says, yes, this is the book, and do you like it? And the answer is yes. So here's the Garamond page. Looks like fonts, right? It mentions that Garamond is elegant without being overly ornate because it's got a serif. It's a serif font. It has the little fiddly bits, the little diagonal on the R, or the little, I'm doing this backwards, so it's hard to do, the little feet at the bottom. Those are little serifs. It also says Garamond letters are beautifully imperfect. And I hadn't noticed this before, but one side is longer than the other. And I went and I looked at a paper that I printed out in Garamond, and yes, that's true. And And then it goes back and tells you kind of the history of Garamond, which, I don't know, AT, I think I'm going to go down the rabbit hole with you. But then it goes into ligatures, where the letters merge, like the I dot is connected to the V in V. Why that happened is the cool part, and that's what they tell you up here. Back in the day, when you were doing actual typesetting, setting lines of lead type in the trays and then putting that into the printing press and then using that to print, you had to find ways to fit more words per line or more letters per line. And you had your uppercase and you had your lowercase, but you had to use those grammatically correctly. So you had to find ways to nudge stuff together if you could. The way to do that was to combine letters or to find reasons to connect letters. And so that's one of the things that they did. So it's a really cool book, and it has the flowery bits as well. It talks about line, it talks about shape, it talks about how all of this stuff works in concert, like in illuminated letters and things like that. So it's really fun. And I got this one used, and it looks brand new. It does not look, I mean, that's actually from me last night. So thank you so much. I love this. Oh, and Rusa says, it took me a while to remember that in A4 series, when the size goes down, the number goes up. A5 is half the size of A4, and A6 is half the size of A5, and so on. Awesome. Again, metrics. So cool. And then the last thing to show you guys, I just got it. Like, as I walked in the door from getting groceries this morning, the UPS truck was here as I finished unloading the car, and he handed this to me, so I haven't had a chance to look at it very much. But in honor of thing one going to his art thing this summer, I stumbled on a book that is called Drawing Words and Writing Pictures, and it's making comics, manga, graphic novels, and beyond. Now, I know I've talked on the podcast before about Scott Thompson. I think it's Scott Thompson's series now. There are 3 of them. The first one was Understanding Comics. The next one was Inventing Comics. And I can't remember what the third one is. Scott McCloud. That was it. Scott Thompson is an actor. Scott McCloud did this amazing book that explains how comics and graphic novels work, treating them as an actual art form, but also as a communicative device, a tool that you can use to communicate rather complex things easily, because our visual literacy is quite good, especially these days with the internet and everything. This is actually a course. It's a definitive course from concept to comic in 15 lessons. It is this, and it is thick, and it is heavy because it's good paper, and it's on the front inside flap. It's got the little flappity-doo thing so that you can save your page, and it's done the wide way, which is also kind of nice because it has instructional text, and then it has recipe, try this at home kind of thing. And then from what I've been able to see is next steps, kind of assessment ideas and next steps, and that's for all 15 steps to getting to your finished product. It goes into kind of doing a pay step on a computer so that there's a certain amount of understanding that you would leave with about how comics used to be made versus how they're made now. which I always think is amazing. In a world where type was still being set by hand, they were still printing cartoons, which means they had to make a cast. They had to actually cast the comic in lead or alloy to print it in the newspaper. It was worth it. I know I'm positive I've mentioned on the podcast at some point in the last 11 years, I've probably mentioned everything at least once. A friend of ours who's a professor did a talk that Andrew and I got to see at Brooklyn Museum, and she did it on 19th century Iranian Persian newspapers. A certain percentage of the population was not literate at the time, but that doesn't mean that they didn't have newspapers. They had newspapers that were entirely done in word-free comics. And at first I thought, you're right. But I'd already seen this happen with our kids in New York City public schools, that on the history tests, one of the questions that the kids had to do on the history regents were DBQs, document-based questions. And often one of those documents would be a political cartoon, not very big, something from 1890 about Gilded Age or something. And sometimes there would be words mixed in with it, but sometimes it's just text. And I'll be darned if the kids' visual literacy even then, and I stopped teaching in New York in 2003, their visual literacy was incredible. They could pull apart really complicated political cartoons and make meaning out of it, and accurately. And the same thing was happening in Iran at the turn of the previous century. And it's mind-blowing how much information was being communicated without words, and complex information was being communicated without words. So looking at this visual medium a little bit differently is it's a lot of fun. And it's a lot of fun in the summertime too, because it's summer. I have been listening to Tiffany Aching books. For those of you who are Discworld fans, I had only ever read 2 Discworld novels, and I just stopped. I don't know why, but a friend of ours, when they were up for Thing 2's bar mitzvah, told me about the Tiffany Aching books. The first of the 4 is called We Free Men. We, W-E-E, free, F-R-E-E, men. And I'm sure the book is great printed. The book is genius as an audiobook, because the guy, I think his name is Stephen Briggs, who reads the book, he does a killer Scottish accent for one thing, but he also does a killer every accent. He is so good. And he must have just been Terry Pratchett's guy, because apparently he did, if not all of the Discworld books, at least most of the Discworld books. So if you're looking for something that is light, that is funny, and I mean laugh out loud funny, start with We Free Men. And there is, if you search for it, a graphic that somebody made. It's an infographic on what order to read Terry Pratchett's books in, because the Discworld books are many, and the interplay between the books is complex. I was about to cough all over you. So the infographic actually shows various pathways through which you can read all like 50 of the Discworld books. If you don't like Monty Python, you probably won't like it. If you didn't like 3 Men in a Boat, you won't like it. If you did like 3 Men in a Boat, you're going to laugh out loud, because in the first Tiffany Aching book, you'll hear several times where you go, he got that from Jerome K. Jerome. Or he says things just like Jerome K. Jerome, or just like Douglas Adams, who wrote like Jerome K. Jerome. So it's fun. And that's it. That is all the everything I've got to share with you. I'm going to try and collect all these links and figure out what is going on with YouTube. I am traumatized. And that's it. All right. Do we have a good chapter at the end of this week? Chapter 81. Did you love Poison and Lemonade? If you haven't listened to the chapters from last week yet, catch up, because they're mad good, yo. Kathy said, I think I read We Free Men and wanted to read more, but no time. I hear you. This is why I'm listening to them on headphones every chance I get. Cleaning out the garage. Hey, I can listen. Sure, I'm happy to clean out the garage as long as I can listen. Or grocery shop as long as I can listen. Or scrub the floors as long as I can listen. Which actually is one of the things I'm going to go do right now. All right. Have a great week. As far as I know, Crafty Chat next week is going to be on. Share your stuff in the Craft Literati group if you like, or in the regular CraftLit chat, and I will pick it up next week as well. And yes, AT audiobooks are great for packing. Indeed. And doing dishes and cooking and everything else. All right. Take care, you guys. I will talk to you soon, and we will have a good chapter coming up on Friday. We'll catch up with somebody we haven't heard from for a while. All right. Bye.